So now let's get started actually making a Mandelbrot renderer. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go grab our components, which we happen to have here, but I'll go here and just go to update. So now we want to grab our zoom map, our iterate, and then we have our clocking circuit there. So we're not going to need the clocking circuit anymore because it's built into our zoom bounds. Alright, so what we're going to do is kind of just slide all this junk over. And I'm actually just going to delete that, and delete that. Actually, I'm just going to delete all of that like that, delete the pins. And I'm going to delete that counter. Okay, so what we need to do is we're going to grab the iterate circuit that we have here. And this is going to tell us like how many times to do, this is going to determine how many times we end up iterating the circuit. So what I want to do now is the inputs to this are going to come from this. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to bring the reals and imaginaries right into the A and B inputs here like this. So reals comes in like that and imaginaries like that. This X and Y here is going to be the X and Y address for those reals and imaginary values, which will end up going to our screen here. So what I'll do is I'll delete this. We'll pull our screen up like this. Boom. Okay. So now that we have our values going up to the screen like that, we can now then generate the rest of the circuit. This overflow is basically when did we finish the frame. So we're not going to worry about that yet. But what we really want to worry about is when we've diverged. And how are we going to determine how we've diverged? Well, we're basically going to have a counter that generates the amount of iterations we want. So the amount of bits in our counter is going to determine how many iterations we want. Or you can have a comparator, and it compares against a value. So you can say when counter is equal to this, stop, and that's my max iterations. And then you can set in the amount of iterations you want to be defined. So if you wanted to stop at 192, for instance, instead of a power of 2, you can do like some triples of powers of 2 instead of just powers of 2, or like integers, multiples of powers of 2. So whatever, you can kind of set that up however you want. But I'm going to make it pretty basic, where we're just going to use the amount of bits in the counter as the amount of iterations that we're going to do. And obviously 15 bits means 2 to the 15 iterations. So if you have 8 bits, that's 64 iterations. If you have 9 bits, that's, or not, 8 bits is, 256 iterations. 9 bits would be 512. So, and 10 would be 1024. So we'll just put in a 10-bit counter. Okay, so we're going to use that counter to generate grayscale values. So to generate grayscale, we gotta remember the format that this is in. It's in 555 RGB, which means if we just tie all 3 bits to the same value, then it's just going to turn it into grayscale. So we're going to want to output a 15-bit value, and the actually no. What we'll do is we won't use grayscale since we're just going to use this this color format and just hook it straight up like this. And I will need a splitter actually, components, wires, splitter. And what we're going to do is we're going to take these 10 bits coming in, and then we're going to take another 6 bits on top, and we're going to output 16. No, we only need to output 15 total because of the way I'm... Alright, well, we'll just output 16 like that. And I will just delete it like that, and boom. Actually no, because the top bit needs to be held high. So I'll make that 10, 5, and 15 bits. Well, it's not 165, okay. Boom. Yeah, so we'll do that. And then we'll take the 10 low bits here, and then we'll tie these bits, components, wires, ground. We'll grab a 5-bit ground. Okay. So now basically what we're doing is we're taking the low 10 bits here, and that's going to be like, it's going to be RGB, so you're going to be blue, green, and then so 5 bits is going to be blue, and the next 4 bits is going to be green, so it's going to be like a blue-green color palette here, because we're never going to roll over to the next color, if that makes sense. Okay, So we're basically going to use the amount of counters here, the amount of iterations here, and the overflow flag will tell us when we're done. So this here is going to like stop the clock. Alright, so now what we got to do is we got to define here the imaginary bound and the real bound. So I'm going to just set up some inputs like this. And this is going to be M, and it's going to be 32 bits. And this is going to be real, and this is going to be 32 bits. Okay. So now we can just hook up our clear to there, our enable there, I don't know why it's backwards, and our clock there, and our zoom factor. Which our zoom factor for no scaling is going to be 1/256. So we're just going to put in another input here, like this. Actually, what I'll do, sorry, instead of these inputs, we're going to put in constant values. Components, wires, constant values, yes. So we're going to make this 32 bits, and the number format is going to be in hex. Okay. So we're going to have 3 hex values. So the imaginary bound, or the real bound, is going to be -2. So I'm going to pull up this PyCharm script again. So our real bound is going to be -2, and our imaginary bound is going to be -1.5. So I'm going to put a -2 in my script and see what it outputs as the decimal value. Oops. So if we go to fixed point script, right click, run, it's 1, space 10, space 21, as we have to enter the format. We're going to want to put in -2, and it tells us what -2 is. Now we want to put in -1.5, and it tells us what that is. So we're going to put in FFC, and so the real bound, which is -2, we're going to put it Control V. Okay. Now the imaginary bound is that, FFD. And now our zoom factor is we want 1/256. So now we want to go to our calculator. So go to the Windows button would fucking appear. Calculator, and we want to go to 1 divided by 256 is equal to this. And it's 2000. So if you just put in hex 2000, right click on it, put in like that. Okay, so now we're going to save the circuit. Now what we want is the clock is going to have to come all the way over into the diverge circuit here. And it's also going to have to come, whoops, all the way over into the screen memory as well. So we're going to bring it in probably this way. Yeah. And then yeah, we're going to keep load and the block buffer kept like that. This diverge signal is going to be ORed with, so the way it can blow up is either we've diverged or we've iterated too many times, right? So we're going to say we've either iterated too many times or we have diverged from the circuit. So we'll put in an OR gate, right click and make that cool, and these are 1-bit buses. Now that OR gate is going to come back into this enable. So this enable here actually is going to be changed up a little bit. So we're going to say we're going to enable, so let me go to components, logic, and right click, rotation 90, and unclick the wide shape. Cool. Okay, so on this we're going to say it's going to be enabled when when we're diverged. Let's think this through here. I'm looking at my my copy of the circuit that I built before, as I build this one to make sure I'm doing it right. So basically, we want to have this overflow generate. This overflow will generate us to stop the clock. What we're going to do is we're going to take this overflow flag and we're going to generate a set reset latch that will tell us when our frame is done. So we're going to go to memory here, or no, the flip-flops, set reset, and we're going to use the clocked one. So we want this set reset latch right here. And we're going to set it, first off, let me just move some of this junk over. Move this over, and we'll say when the overflow is true, the set will come on. When the clear is true, the reset will come on, and then obviously the clock is the clock like that. Okay, so we're going to say when we are not overflowed yet, we're going to enable this thing. So we're going to actually make 3 inputs on this. So the way this works is we're going to say, if we haven't overflowed yet, do not allow a clock in here yet because we're still generating we're still clocking this until we've overflowed. When we allow a clock in here, it's going to generate the next pixel address, which then we will clock here again until we overflow. So we want to enable the circuit by going into there like that. So basically now we'll be able to enable the circuit, and when it overflows, it'll get the next pixel, and then do the same thing there. So this overflow flag here, when it says we're going to another pixel, needs to clear the counter that's saying like what color that current pixel is. So we're going to just bring that right up there like that. Then this clock pin can come up like this. And the enable for that counter, I'm pretty sure, should just be able to be tied straight to the enable pin of our enable input. Yeah, so we'll just tie the enable pin straight up here like that. Or, no, we'd have to bring it, sorry, we'd have to bring it all the way back like this. We need to do that. Okay. Okay, so now if we've diverged, we want to load the next value in here to be clocked. So basically we're going to say the load pin here enables the next A and B to come in and iterate for the clock until we overflow, and then it will then generate new XYs and then load them in here with the appropriate reals and imaginary values for that XY address. Like that. Okay, so now if we want to run this, we get this error. So what happens is if we open up the circuit here, on the resizing of this shape, it screwed a little bit of things, so we're just going to do that, and then we'll click play. Okay, so it's working, so we'll Control S, and then we'll pull back there, and now we should be able to run. Still can't. And why is that? Oh, well, because here I screwed up. The output goes here. The overflow flag here will come up here. Oh, sorry for my phone going off. Okay, so now we should be able to run. Okay, so now how do we get this to actually work? Well, let's clear it. Actually, let's stop. Let's make sure this is okay. We're on maximum, so let's run it, clear it, enable, and let go. And there's our Mandel set, boys and girls. Mandelbrot set. Now remember, we're drawing at 1024 iterations here. We use a 10-bit counter. And congratulations, we have just built something that generates a Mandelbrot set. Now remember, I told you the color palette that we chose was green-blue because we chose the low end well, if we have 10 bits out of 15 bits, you're leaving the top 5 bits off, you're never going to get red if it's 555 RGB. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial up to this point. You probably may have thought that we'll never get to the point of actually rendering Mandelbrot set, but like I told you, it's really not that hard. The hard part now comes into the zoom and pan logic, and I may or may not decide to actually continue the tutorial series on this because it's not getting many views. If you guys comment saying you've even made it this far and you want the zoom and pan logic, I'll probably do it. But I want people to know that they're interested. I want to know if people are actually interested in the tutorials. So there's no point in making them if people aren't interested. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. If you guys have watched this tutorial up to this point, it really helps me out a lot if you leave a like and subscribe and share this video with your friends, join the Discord, all that junk. And I'm planning on doing a line drawer tutorial next. I've already built it, might as well do the tutorial on it, just like I did the Mandelbrot set, I might as well do a tutorial on it. So yeah, if you guys like this kind of stuff, let me know. If you don't, let me know, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.